to the Sactown Sports Kings recap. My name is Chris Watkins, and thank you all for joining me. Tilt my camera up just a skosh here. Welcome in, everybody, following a Sacramento Kings victory over the defending champion Denver Nuggets. They come in. Denver was on the second night of a back-to-back playing last night on ESPN national television against the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. As back-to-backs have become a pretty hot-button topic here in Sacramento, we obviously know it's not easy when you're on the traveling end of a back-to-back. So Denver definitely was fighting an uphill battle tonight, but no excuses, and they definitely showed up. They showed why they're champions, and the Kings can definitely. Hey, you can definitely, if you're the Sacramento Kings, take a lesson out of what Denver did tonight, because again, back-to-backs have been a hot button topic of is it fair, or are you at a just natural disadvantage on the second night of a back-to-back? Well, Denver showed tonight that it's not impossible to still at least show good effort. And yes, they were down big at points in this game. Biggest lead for Sacramento was 17, but they never relented and made it a game down the stretch and made the Kings have to earn this victory. You saw, I don't know if anyone was keeping tabs on the OKC Dallas game tonight, but Dallas was up like 24, I believe, or I'm sorry, OKC was up 24. Dallas never let up. Went on a 30-0 run to start the fourth quarter. Man, you just never know in today's NBA. You never really give up, and you're never really out of it. So definitely was a good sign to see. It's not a good sign if you're Sacramento, but just again a lesson that maybe the Kings can take. But what a great performance tonight from De'Aaron Fox, who just continues to play at an MVP level. He's been incredible tonight, doing it a little bit differently. 26 points, which is just normal for De'Aaron, one of the leading scorers in the NBA. But tonight, 16 assists. 16 assists on one turnover. Just incredible. I mean, just again, showing his diverse array of abilities. People talk a lot about Tyrese Halliburton and what he's been able to do since moving over to Indiana, always seemingly getting over 10 assists. I think he's leading the NBA in assists, and it's not really a big part of De'Aaron's game. We see Sabonis set up a lot of the offense, but tonight De'Aaron did great. I mean, Denver really has no answer for him. They didn't have any answers for any of the Kings guards. Malik had 26 tonight. Kevin Huerter had 16 tonight. And then, De'Aaron's 26 as well. Denver really couldn't slow them down. They couldn't stop them from getting to the hole, and De'Aaron did a great job of really attracting a lot of attention when he drove the lane and kicked it out to some open teammates who knocked down some shots. On the other end of things, Denver couldn't hit anything. They didn't hit a three until I wrote it down here, didn't hit a three until the 2:46 mark of the third quarter. Look, when you're fighting an uphill battle like Denver was, you're going to need some help, and hitting perimeter jumpers is definitely going to help you save your legs. Of course, you're going to be tired. Maybe some of your shots are going to be short, but threes can do you a lot of help on the second night of a back-to-back. And shout out the Kings, who I guess have, in general, just done a really good job of running teams off of the three-point line. Denver only had 13 three-point attempts through three quarters tonight. They finished with 25. I looked it up. Denver coming into tonight was on a 4-game win streak. This was a really good team that was playing really good basketball. Of course, defending champions. They were playing really good basketball in their 4-game win streak. They were taking 31 threes a game, knocking them down at a 42% clip. So the Kings made them play differently than what they have so far throughout their win streak. Again, 25 threes, 24% Denver hit tonight. So they did not look themselves, which again is going to be natural when you're playing the second night of a back-to-back from Phoenix to Sacramento. It's not the easiest travel plan. Coming into tonight as well, I mean, I mentioned how both teams were hot. Denver won 4 straight, 5 of their last 7. Sacramento has won, coming into tonight, 8 of their last 11. Now has won 9 of their last 12. So the Kings are playing really, really good basketball. And so far this season, I wrote this down because this is just incredible. I mean, when you kind of take a step back, what the Kings are now, what's their record heading into tonight? What are they? 12-7, if I'm not mistaken. 11-7 on the season. Their wins are really, really quality. When you break them down, I don't know if there's anybody in the league who has as impressive of wins this season as Sacramento. 2 wins over the Lakers. They have a win over now the 1, the 2, and the 3 seed in the Western Conference, beating Minnesota, beating Denver tonight, and beating OKC at home earlier this season. So those are 3 really quality wins. I mentioned the Lakers twice. They beat Cleveland. They beat Dallas, who's the 6th seed in the Western Conference, and Golden State as well. Finally got the win over them the other day in the in-season tournament. That's a lot of really quality wins. That's a lot of really quality wins for this team, and just really points to how difficult of a schedule the Kings have had so far. This is not a Eastern Conference laden schedule so far. The Kings haven't had the benefit of a lot of home games. I think this is their 7th home game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. There's tons of teams that have already played 10 plus. This is their Kings 8th home game of the year. I'm looking. Minnesota is 9-1. They've played 10 games. Oklahoma City has played 10 home games. Phoenix has played 10 home games. New Orleans has played 12 home games, for God's sake. So the Kings only sitting at 8 is a major disadvantage. So again, just another sign that maybe the Kings have kind of gotten the short end of the stick so far early in the season, and it really hasn't stopped them from starting off really, really positively. And I think they're definitely top 6 right now in the West. I believe they're sitting pretty comfortable at the 5 spot. So really, really good positive stuff, especially dealing with all these injuries. Davion Mitchell wasn't out there tonight. You did get the return of Keegan Murray. It was an up and down night for Keegan. I don't even think he made a shot in the first half. He did not make a shot in the first half. Took 3. Let me see what he ended up with. Excuse me. So he had 8 points in the third, and that was it. He had 8 third quarter points. 23 minutes Keegan plays tonight, only 8 points. It's going to take a while to integrate. Not a while, but they're going to try and slowly integrate him into things, especially when Kevin's hitting the shot like he was tonight, and Malik as well from the perimeter. Not really too major for Keegan to knock down his shots right now. I think the Kings really just miss his defense, really, first and foremost. It seems like the defense was the thing that the Kings really could have utilized when he wasn't out there. Biggest stat from tonight that I noticed, scary numbers. Thankfully, Nikola Jokic can't play 48 minutes. That's the big takeaway if you're the Kings tonight, is just be thankful Nikola Jokic has to sit at points. Played 38 minutes tonight. He played 35 minutes last night. And this is a dude who's supposed to be big, out of shape, clunky. He just registered the most minutes for his team over the past 2 nights. It was incredible tonight. Jokic was 36 points, 14 assists, 13 rebounds. And guess what? This is the craziest number of all of them. He was a plus 11 for his team tonight, meaning, yes, for those who are plus minus junkies, they were a minus 17 when Nikola Jokic was not on the floor tonight, which is really the game. That there's 2 numbers that point to why the Nuggets lost this game. First and foremost, I can't believe I'm saying this for a team that isn't the Kings, but free throws. The Nuggets were 13 of 20 from the free throw line tonight. That's 7 points they left on the board. They lose by 6 tonight. Nuggets are the worst free throw shooting team in the NBA. I think they shoot something like 71% from the line. So this isn't abnormal for them, but that right there is the game. 13 to 20 from the free throw line. If they make all of their free throws, they win tonight. They shot 24% from 3. That's definitely another number, but the fact that they just got absolutely killed in the non-Jokic minutes tonight really, really decided it. DeAndre Jordan played 9 minutes today, minus 17 in the box score. So the Kings just absolutely demolished Denver in those minutes when Jokic wasn't playing, and that's what you got to do. That's not a new formula for the Kings. That's exactly what they had to do when they played the Warriors and win those non-Steph Curry minutes. So shout out the Kings for taking advantage of that. And also, on a night where Jamal Murray's not playing and Denver's on the second night of a back-to-back, feels like you got to win the games like tonight. So good on the Kings for getting the result. And it's at this point, it's on to the next one, which will be Monday, the in-season tournament quarterfinal game here in Golden One Center against the New Orleans Pelicans, who, yes, the Kings just lost 2 games to in New Orleans. That's going to be a tough one. That is going to be a tough matchup. The Kings still really don't have any answer for Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, who I was looking at their scoreline tonight, their box score tonight, and those dudes went crazy. I think they were both 10 of 15 from the field, so it's tough to stop New Orleans and those forwards. The Kings really don't have the personnel to match up with those guys. When you're talking about Zion and Brandon Ingram, the Kings really have Keegan Murray and they've got Harrison Barnes. And you saw Trey Lyles get some minutes tonight. Really interesting. Wouldn't call it a development, but something I've noticed and with Mike Brown's rotations, he really doesn't care about power forward and small forward. It's really clear to me that it's just the forward position, because we've now seen Mike Brown opt for a Sasha Vezenkov, Trey Lyles forward lineup next to Domantas Sabonis in back-to-back games, if I'm not mistaken. It might have even been 3 games in a row. So that's definitely interesting to me, as I think it was in the pregame, Mike Brown was talking about, I like the shoes. Okay. Comfort mode. Shout out Morgan. Morgan's got her Uggs on already, which I feel I need to get on that vibe. But yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting development as the Kings. Mike Brown talked about in the pregame, the Kings trying to go a little bit bigger, which I thought was interesting because we haven't really seen much of that. And when Mike Brown has typically talked about this team, it hasn't been in the sense of talking about length being a positive for this team. Usually talks about how they never have the length advantage. So maybe Mike Brown trying to make up for that by going with some bigger lineups, and some could call it unconventional. But I think, again, I kind of talked about it the other night on here. I think Sasha Vezenkov is actually in really good shape, and he moves really, really well. I feel like you can definitely steal some minutes with him and Trey Lyles as your main forwards, and I feel like it won't kill you depending on the matchup, of course. Going over to the comments here, see what y'all are saying after tonight's big game. Big game, big win. Defending champions in town, and the Kings handle them. Throw it down, McGee. Throw it down. JaVale had himself actually a really good game. I've been pretty hard on JaVale so far this season, but I really did like his minutes tonight. 8 points, 4 boards. He did have a couple blocks as well. They gave him credit for 3 blocks. A couple of those were iffy. Looked like he might have had a goaltender or 2 sprinkled in there, but did a great job of protecting the rim tonight and just being big. I mean, he did have a rough first quarter, I will say. Did have a couple JaVale plays in that first quarter, but I thought that second quarter stint, by the way, I mean, this game completely flipped on its head in that second quarter. I wrote this down, and this is kind of to tie in the non-Jokic minutes tonight. Nikola Jokic checked out at the 150 mark in the first quarter. I looked back up. The Kings had the lead with 7:17 to go in the second. They won on a 23-7 run from the 150 mark in the first to the 7:17 mark in the second quarter. That was really all JaVale McGee minutes pretty much. And the Kings just really went on a run there. That was the best they looked all day long. And a big part of that was Malik Monk, who continues to just put together big performances off the bench. He's my leading candidate right now for 6th man of the year. I truly believe nobody is as consistent and as reliable as Malik. Now, it doesn't always have to be about scoring with him. Of course, a lot of the time it is, but his playmaking ability is really second to none on this team. He's been so huge for setting up guys like JaVale McGee. With the pick and roll with Sabonis is just elite stuff. Malik as a pick and roll player this year in general has been one of the best in the NBA. So that's been a pleasure to watch, and becoming more and more evident that our guy Monty McNair is going to have some work to do here real soon with locking down Malik Monk long term, because this team needs him desperately. I cannot imagine this team functioning and operating moving forward into the future without sorry, I almost said without JaVale McGee. That would have been a really bad clip. I can't see them moving on to the future and trying to look like the team they look like right now without Malik Monk. It's really hard to imagine how this team is successful, especially this season, without Malik Monk being heavily involved and being paid as such as well, because Malik is a guy who has now proven that he is a real impact player in the league, and he's going to look to get that respect. He's going to look for a team that's going to pay him starter quality money. Whether or not he actually is a starter, I think is to be determined, whether or not Malik actually cares about that kind of stuff, but he'll definitely want to be paid like somebody who makes as big of an impact as he does. Rightfully so, because that man is just, again, incredibly important to what this team does. How about Herder? Yeah, Kevin had a great game tonight. 16 points, including the dagger 3 on De'Aaron's 16th assist there in the fourth quarter. I thought Kev was great tonight. He was really scrappy defensively. Can't wait to look at those deflection numbers, which Mike Brown's always raving about. Definitely think Kevin Herder. I'm going to say Kevin Herder played the best defense of anybody on the floor tonight, maybe with the exception of De'Aaron Fox, who I kind of was giving him crap the other day on the radio show about not fully living up to the Swiper nickname. Like, he gets steals, but it's not like something that's, like a massive part of his game that just leaps out. But he's starting to really collect those strip steals. And tonight he had one in a really, really timely spot. I think it was at the end of the third quarter, as the third quarter was winding down. The Nuggets had kind of made it into a 5 or 6 point game. De'Aaron gets the steal, gets the layup, and just kind of turns the momentum real quick. The Kings enter that fourth quarter on a 10-point lead, and I think as that fourth quarter developed, it was clear that the Kings kind of needed all the points they could to kind of keep Denver at hand, because the last thing the Kings wanted was Denver to feel like they could steal that game at the end. Denver was more than willing to just kind of lay low, rope-a-dope a little, and then make a late push and see if they could steal the game with their tired legs. But Kings did a good job just kind of holding them off just enough tonight. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. True two-way, absolutely. De'Aaron 16 assists tonight. How about that? That's insane. Just absolutely insane. Let me see if I can find real quick here the last Sacramento Kings point guard to have 16 assists in a game. Let me real quick here. Let me also do my 3 stars of the game while I'm searching for these numbers. First star, let me look at these numbers real quick. Let's give it to Kevin Herder. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I got to give it to Sabonis. Kevin, honorable shout out for Kevin Herder tonight, who was really big. Again, hit the big 3 at the end of the game. He was 4 of 6 from the perimeter at the end of this one. The Kings, it's become incredibly clear that the Kings are a different team when they hit their threes. Knocked down 47 of them tonight, but just huge when Kevin's knocking down his shot. They look like a completely different team. And shout out Kev, who's going to get, unfortunately, just an honorable mention from tonight. Let me see here. Looking at, sorry, I'm trying to find Sacramento Kings, who had 16 or more assists. Get results. And here we go. Going assists. Here we go. Okay, this thing does not want to crop. Okay, here we go. The last Sacramento King to get 16 assists in a ball game. Wow, there was a lot of them. Let me tell you. 2015 Rajon Rondo, 2023 Domantas Sabonis was the last time. Was that earlier this year? I guess. Oh, earlier last season. in January was the last time a Sacramento King had 16 assists. That was against Houston last year. Sabonis did. Davion Mitchell also, I forgot, had 17 assists in a game 2 seasons ago. Wow. Shout out Davion. 17 assists. But De'Aaron sets his career high tonight with 16, again, on 1 turnover. We'll talk more about him in a second. But our 2-star performer of the night is Malik Monk. 26 points tonight, 4 of 7 from 3, 9 of 14 from the field. He just comes in and does what he does, man. It's you try to not take it for granted, but Malik is just he fills that role so perfectly, and that's why it's so hard for Mike Brown to want to try and put Malik into the starting lineup, because he just comes in and he's ready to go. He's a firecracker, and you could see how tonight, if the Kings offense is humming, Kevin Huerter's hitting shots early, Keegan Murray's hitting shots early, maybe Sabonis has it going early. You're like, oh my gosh, we're trying to plug all these holes. And then in steps Malik Monk, who's just ready to set the world on fire. It's a really big punch, and the Kings haven't really utilized it to get a big early lead, but you just see how it kind of sets the tone of, we're going to be relentless with our scoring tonight, and we have so many dudes who can do it. It's just Malik is the perfect player for this Kings team, it feels like, in that role. And the Kings have 5 players tonight finishing double figures. Could have been 6 if Keegan hit one more, if JaVale hits one more, maybe if Trey hits another 3. But again, just really speaking to the amount of scoring that this team has, really, really impressive. And on a night like tonight, you know, it didn't feel like Sabonis was really he was definitely better than what he's been these past couple games, but he you know, on a night where Sabonis really is gonna struggle to get his scoring load going against Nikola Jokic, it's really good to have guys, just everybody contributing. And of course, 3 stars is going to go to De'Aaron Fox, because he's just that dude. MVP caliber performance tonight. Kings were, I've talked about the Jokic plus minus tonight. De'Aaron Fox, the Kings were plus 22 when Fox was out there. So what's that? Yeah, wow. That means they were a minus. I'm trying to not do this math. They were a minus 18. Nope, that's not right. Minus 16. They were minus 16 when De'Aaron wasn't out there tonight. So that's, again, just more showing of him being MVP quality, because this team is just, they're different when he's not out there. And he's just been incredible every single night. That's what everybody always says about taking the leap, and why it's so hard to be a superstar or an MVP in this league. It's doing it every single night. A lot of guys can, you know, give you 2 good performances a week. Some guys can give you 3, but to just be able to pencil in, or not even pencil him in, to put him in pen or maybe even Sharpie, to say, oh, De'Aaron tonight is easily going to have 26, 7 assists. At this rate, I mean, he's been knocking down multiple threes every night. He knocked down 3 of 6 tonight. You can knock down 2 to 3 threes as well. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really, really tough when this team is healthy, just because of the offensive weapons. And yes, I definitely saw this in the chat as well. It really shouldn't just be about the offense. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't know the music was playing this whole time. This is why I really shouldn't even try and do it. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't have headphones. Shout out chat. Thank you, chat, for letting me know. I got you. Dang, man. Relax, buddy. But yes, I saw this as well. EGOT, our defense is solid. Absolutely. Defense tonight was absolutely huge. They just did a great job of making it tough on Jokic. Jokic got a couple. Some of those calls on the Sabonis closeouts were ridiculous. I don't get it. Maybe if they want to say he was stepping into his shooting space or something, but man, I did not understand the 3-point foul on Sabonis. I really didn't understand the free throw line one either, that they called Sabonis on for the Jokic jumper. it just really didn't look like there was much of any contact. And I get it. Maybe it's an MVP call, it's a superstar call, but it just didn't really feel like I didn't feel like it should have been a foul, in my opinion. But yes, the defense was definitely really great. Interesting. Yeah, I saw today that there were some issues with the NBA TV stream, that it's blacked out for some reason. It forces people to watch the local coverage. Not that there's anything wrong with the local coverage. Shout out Morgan Reagan and Mike Bibby, I think, was on the local coverage. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, it was Mark Jones. Mark Jones and Katie were on the call today. Ba 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 ba. Yeah, shout out. Sorry, everybody. I definitely my bad about that music. But yeah, how's everybody feeling about how the Kings' start to this season has gone so far? Definitely some ups, definitely some downs, but Kings winning 9 of 12 now. Gotta feel like things are definitely in an upwards trajectory. And again, with wins over the teams that they've beaten so far, I mean, I don't know. Is there Boston Celtics are always a really tough matchup for this team? That feels like a team that maybe the Kings just can't beat. But besides that, I mean, especially when it's more talking about the West, it feels like the Kings realistically shouldn't be afraid of anybody. They've kind of gotten over the Golden State monster with the win the other day. I mean, maybe you can't say they're completely over that team, but I think getting the up or getting up on them for that game definitely made them at least feel like, look, these guys are beatable. They're human. And even though it took a pretty Herculean comeback, they got the result. So it feels like Golden State shouldn't be a mental block anymore. But yeah, when you're talking about the best teams, at least in the West so far, I mean, I think the Kings match up really good against Denver. It'll be really interesting to see how the Kings match up against the Timberwolves when they have Jaden McDaniels. I don't think much was made because it was during that Thanksgiving break, so not everybody got to talk about that game in great detail. But the fact that the Wolves didn't have Jaden McDaniels in that in-season tournament game was huge. Like, Jaden McDaniels is, I mean, he's going to be, I think he's going to be first or second team all defense easy, like no question this season. So for the Timberwolves to not have him, that was pretty big. So I want to see what the Kings look like against them. We already saw the Kings pretty much handle that OKC team. I'm not really concerned about the Kings matching up against them. Phoenix, we still haven't seen the Kings match up against them. Who knows? Maybe they'll see each other in the semis of the in-season tournament if both teams can win their first knockout round stage games. And then Dallas as well. Like, Dallas is the 6th seed. Didn't feel like the Kings really struggled with them at all. I know, the Kings were also in the middle of their road trip, in the middle of their, a 6-game win streak. So that was probably when the Kings were playing their best ball. Dallas has kind of fallen off a bit since then, but it doesn't feel like Dallas or I'll just list the Lakers, the Rockets. Would be interesting to see how the Kings play them if they were to match up again. Clippers, Warriors. I don't think any of those teams really should put the fear in the Kings' heart. A team that should put fear in the Kings, however, the team I did not mention is their next opponent, the New Orleans Pelicans, who, again, Kings get a chance to kind of get a rare opportunity to even out that season series if they would like. The Kings and Pelicans were only going to match up 3 times this year, but since they have this in-season tournament game on Monday, that'll be their a 4th matchup added this season. So Kings obviously lost both of their games in New Orleans. It would be a great opportunity on Monday if they can win that, and then later in the season even up that season series in case there's a tiebreaker at the end of this year. But New Orleans is a really tough matchup for the Kings. Kings, when they played them in New Orleans, they didn't even have CJ. And CJ is now back. He's not a perfect fit for that team. I think there's a lot of just it's tough when your 3 core guys haven't really played much of any games together, and I'm talking about Ingram, Zion, and CJ. It's kind of tough to form an identity and develop who you are as a team. I think that's what the Clippers are really struggling with early this year. but I mean, they just have so much talent that they kind of figure it out. And Zion's so good, especially efficiency at the rim, and then Bi is just a lethal shooter. They're a really really tough team. And then you mentioned you don't I didn't even mention the fact that they have Jonas Valanciunas, who I think is one of the most underrated centers in the NBA, holding it down at that big man spot, and that's a big body. We've seen Sabonis struggle with big bodies all year long, and yeah, Jonas is definitely one of those guys that fits into that category. Um, but when you see Sabonis play like he did tonight against a big like Jokic, it feels like he should be able to handle someone like Jonas. Like it feels like you can take the same kind of energy, the same kind of tactics that you would use against a guy like Jokic, and just apply it to Jonas. So maybe Sabonis can perform a little bit better than he did in New Orleans previously, against New Orleans previously. And really excited for that one because the energy for that game I think is going to be playoff adjacent. It will not be playoff atmosphere, definitely, but I think it's going to be the only in season, well, the last in season tournament game at at a home arena. The next round will be in Vegas, so there's pretty big stakes at hand here. And I'm gonna be really interested to see just how popping it gets on a Monday, and to see how much people care, because this is still a pretty new thing, and I think fans are still trying to figure out where they fall in their excitement level for this thing. So it'll be interesting to see what the turnout's like on Monday. But I definitely think the energy is going to be crazy, and I really hope the Kings can make that an exciting game, because it's gonna be a really big one on Monday. I think I'm gonna be hyped. That's for sure. Because I'm trying to go to Vegas, y'all. I cannot lie to you. I got selfish intentions on that one. Um, let's see here. How's everyone feeling about? Do we want to talk just state of the team overall? I was kind of thinking about this the other day, more just in the sense of this will be the last thing I talk about too before I call it a night. But I was just thinking the other night about the construction of this team, and goals and ceilings and those kind of things, and just wondering where everyone's standing on what expectations are for this season, what they feel like this group can accomplish. Um, and yeah, I mean, ultimately, what is success for this season, and really for the next couple of years with this group? Do people feel like this is a team that is ready to compete? Do they feel like they kind of want to play a couple more years out and get a good gauge for what they need? Just curious on how the fan base is feeling in terms of patience right now. And I think I understand both sides of the coin. I think I personally lean a little bit more towards the patient side, and understanding that this probably isn't a team that's going to win a title this season, and might not even be ready to win a title next season. But I also totally understand people who might say that you look at the landscape right now and it doesn't really look like any particular team sticks out, and you might look at this as an opportunity to maybe in a league that's usually just deprived of parity. Usually it's just the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Bulls, and whatever. There's been like 12 NBA champions all time. Maybe this is a little bit of an opportunity, as you see teams like the Bucks and the Nuggets, and the Suns made the finals a couple years back. Maybe you view this little pocket as an opportunity to kind of sneak in a championship here. I think it's interesting. I really do. I wonder how Monty kind of views this as well. He always talks about how he likes to keep flexibility, and he isn't one to really rush into something, but if he sees an opportunity that he really likes, he's gonna hop on it. And we saw that with the Tyrese Halliburton trade. Things can move really quickly, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Kings made a big move by the trade deadline this year, and if they whatever. I'll just do the popular names out there. If they move on from Harrison Barnes and Kevin Herter and maybe Davion Mitchell and go all in on somebody, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't, because you only get so many, you only have a window so big, and sometimes you got to be risky, and they took a risky move in order to even get to the spot that they're in right now. So it wouldn't be the craziest logic to say, maybe we got to do something crazy to take the next step as well. I, again, personally don't believe that that's 100% the right thing to do, but I don't think that there is a uniform, a catch-all answer for that. Especially with the names out there. I think OG Anunoby's a really good player. I think he's a really fun piece. I've talked about how I definitely think that he makes a lot of sense for this roster. When we talk about playing teams like the Pelicans, the Kings have Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray to throw at them. OG Anunoby makes a whole lot more sense, just kind of personnel wise and body type wise, makes a whole lot more sense to put on him. And at least you have an answer. Like, you're going against LeBron in the Western Conference. You're going against guys like Michael Porter Jr. In the Western Conference, Kevin Durant. Just to have a body that makes sense to throw at those guys, I think is at least a step in the right direction. But there's also the argument of OG Anunoby's on the Raptors, and last time I checked, he's not elevating the Raptors at all. So why do we think so highly of him? Why are we going to give up 2 first-round picks and potentially Keegan Murray for a guy who's on a 10-seeded Raptors team right now or whatever they are? Makes a lot of sense to me. That defense 11 seed at that Raptors team makes a lot of sense to me. That argument does, but again, sometimes scared money don't make money, and you got sometimes you just got to think about what that piece would look like in your system. But I haven't been the biggest OG person. I hear the Pascal Siakam conversation as well. Makes a little bit of sense to me, especially when you think about putting him at the 4 and putting him next to Sabonis, and he does a lot of things that Sabonis isn't good at. So that makes a lot of sense. But then again, kind of comes to the similar OG conversation of how much you would have to get up to get him. There's Zach LaVine's name that's out there. That one makes the least amount of sense, in my opinion, at least from the Kings' perspective. Just don't really think that he provides things that the Kings are really looking for. I'd be interested, just to throw some names out there that I would be interested in. I'm a lot more on the fringes. I'm a lot more not necessarily looking for that third star. I'm looking Alex Caruso's. I'm looking just Chicago in general. Robert Williams. Are you looking to move on from him? I've talked about Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal and Cam Johnson, someone who signed a big contract this offseason, but he's always been really intriguing to me. I've heard a couple people talk about maybe, oh, well, what if the Kings revisit Kuzma? Because, if you're just replacing Harrison Barnes with Kuzma, like kind of what everyone wanted to do in the offseason, what does that do for your team, especially with Washington maybe looking to move on? And, who knows what they would be willing to take for Kyle Kuzma. They might not necessarily be looking for more willing to move on for cheap from Kyle Kuzma. Or Jeremy Grant, even, who signed a huge, massive contract this offseason, which would be the reason why I'd be a little bit more hesitant to move in on a guy like Jeremy Grant. But again, scare money don't make money, and you're gonna have to if you're gonna make trades, you're gonna have to trade people that you don't want to trade. That's just kind of how it works. But of course, then that kind of brings up the untouchable conversation. Really interesting one, and I think that's where you could really have a conversation of what the definition of untouchable is. But it feels like Keegan has got to be moved for the right piece. And yes, sorry, I see people saying lag. I see that there's one bar here. So Golden One Center operates on a public Wi-Fi, so this might not be the smoothest thing. Might have some ping for all you gamers out there. But yeah, I think Keegan if you're moving on from Keegan, you have to be 1,000% sure, like absolutely positive, slam dunk without a doubt that the piece that you're moving him for is going to be a piece that takes you to a different level. Because Keegan's the guy who you just have team control over for the next 6 or 7 years. He's going to be at a cheap figure. You can sign him for a lot cheaper because you hold his rights. He doesn't necessarily. It's not as big of a cap hit as what everybody else might be if you didn't have him as a homegrown talent. So yeah, you just got to make sure that if you're moving on from Keegan, you're 100% positive that this is a move that takes you probably to like conference title at the bare minimum type level, because Keegan's your best young asset. And after that, if you move on from Keegan, it's really just draft picks and probably Davion Mitchell and, I mean, for this season, Malik Monk, but moving forward, probably Kevin Herter are your best trade assets at that point. And, I don't know how much you're really going to get if you're looking to make the next move after the big move, if those are kind of your best assets. So it's kind of tough, and it's a rough position for Monty to kind of be in, because again, it feels like the next move he makes really, really has to be the perfect one. Excuse me. Um, Interesting. Yeah. And what are some names out there that you guys would like? Seeing I'm seeing some people liking Kuzma as well. Let's see here. Rather trade for Cam Johnson. Yeah, Cam Johnson is definitely a really interesting name. Um, I don't know what Brooklyn would want to move him for. And again, he also just signed this offseason, so I think you would have to wait until the end of the year to make a move for a guy like Cam Johnson. Harrison Barnes, also somebody who fits in that category. Can't trade Harrison Barnes' contract until December 29th of this year. This would not surprise me, Adam. At this rate, watch OG walk for nothing. Masai is holding on to his players, clutching his pearls. It's been really clear. Again, I just said Toronto's the 11 seed in the East right now. They've just been floundering. They've been living in purgatory these last couple years. And Masai is just adamant that these guys have a certain value, and he's not going to shake from it. Which, good on him. You see that sometimes that works out. Look at Daryl Morey with Ben Simmons, and not so much with James Harden, but sometimes if you just wholeheartedly believe that the guys you have a certain value, and you're not going to let media and narrative and all those things dictate someone's value, sometimes it works out for you. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you end up holding on to your guys so long that you end up getting incredibly marginal return for them, and sometimes you don't get any return, like they did with Fred VanVleet. I mean, they literally just went through this with Fred. Like they thought they were going to be able to re-sign him. He was in trade talks, I think, a year ago. And then they never moved him, and they let him walk for nothing. And it wouldn't surprise me if that happens with at least one of these guys, because it's not just the Kings. It's not just the fact that the Raptors don't like Kings offers. The Warriors reportedly last year threw some combination of Kuminga and Moody and picks for OG. They didn't like that. So yeah, I can't really speak to what Masai is doing, but good luck to him. Hope it works out for you. Actually, I hope it doesn't. Actually, I really hope it doesn't. I also agree, Willie. I think you've said this before, but OG is not worth the money. I agree, because you would have to sign him to a really big deal after, and he's a dude who's been injury prone. He came into the NBA injury prone, has 2 bad knees from college. It's a scary proposition to lock up long term, especially when if you're going to move for him, you're pretty much not seeing him until you trade for him. So kind of tough. Okay, Lydia agreeing with Kuzma. Interesting. I think Kuz is. I don't really love the fit. I like the theoretical fit. Like, I think Kyle Kuzma, the guy he is right now, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Kings. He's somebody who kind of looks for his scoring a lot, but if he, I think we've seen it at points in his career, especially in the bubble with the Lakers, but we've seen him commit to the defensive side of the ball. He's like 6'9", 6'10", with a legit wingspan. he could be a defender if he wanted to. If he committed himself, and it feels like Mike Brown would be the perfect coach to kind of get that through him, especially just how selfless this team is and just how adamant Mike Brown is about playing defense. It does feel like Kuzma could kind of have a renaissance, if you will, and switch to a more defensive minded player. And I really think I would love that player because he is really talented offensively as well. And on this team, he would not be the first option. He probably would think he's the second option. He wouldn't be. And he probably, fit into where I think the Kings ideally would want Keegan to be at. But it kind of feels like Kuzma's a little bit more ready for a role like that. So I wouldn't mind it. I could definitely talk myself into it. It would probably just end up coming down to what they would have to give up for him. Paul George would be my dream. That would definitely, especially if it were like 3 or 4 years ago, Paul George. Today's Paul George a little bit less enticing, a little bit more fragile, a little bit more load managey these days. But maybe if you can get him at a reduced price for whatever reason, I wouldn't hate it. Oh, hold on. I got to tell Frankie. I got your jacket, Frank. Hey. No, you're good. Yeah, you're good. I'm actually about to get off though.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. You left your jacket.
Hi, guys. Thanks. Chris is a good guy for getting my jacket.
I left. Never mind. I'm not going to incriminate myself. Yeah. I'm gonna get off here. Actually. All right, y'all. Y'all have a fantastic night. I'm gonna hop on out of here. I will see y'all Monday after the Kings Pelicans in season tournament game. Y'all have a fantastic night. See ya.